So as you likely know, I've been investing in real estate my entire adult life, but recently I've diversified and expanded into investing in data centers. These data centers are providing returns on investment to myself and to our investors that are exceptional. So I'm going to cover some of the most frequently asked questions about data centers, give you some answers and some education. So let's go. What is a data center? Well, it's a secure facility that houses computer servers, storage, and networking equipment. Every time you stream on Netflix, or you check your bank account, or you drive down the tollway, or you scroll social media, that data is processed and then it has to be stored somewhere. So think of it as the digital version of real estate. Prime location, power, cooling, security all of the time. Without data centers, the cloud wouldn't even exist. Apps wouldn't run, businesses wouldn't be able to do anything online. So data centers, the storage areas, are what keeps the world's digital operations moving and moving forward. So what is edge computing? Well, traditionally, data is processed in giant centralized data centers, sometimes thousands of miles away from its source. Edge computing flips that model and it brings computing power closer to its source, closer to the creators and closer to the consumers. So that reduces latency, or the lag time between clicking and getting a response. So edge computing is critical because for things like self-driving cars, telemedicine, gaming, AI applications, and by putting smaller data centers in local areas, closer to neighborhoods, closer to factories, closer to hospitals, we create faster, more reliable experience for the end user. Edge computing is about speed, it's about efficiency, and it's about decentralization. So why aren't mega data centers always best? Well, first of all, mega data centers are massive, often the size of 2 or 3 football fields. They're good for hyperscale companies that have large cloud-based needs, Apple and Google and Meta, companies like that. But bigger always isn't better. These facilities are expensive, they're slow to build, difficult to get permits, and they're often located many miles away from where the data is actually used. And so that's why smaller, decentralized, edge-based centers are exploding. They're in demand everywhere in this economy. They're faster to deploy, they're closer to the customers, and they are more efficient for today's digital economy. It's like comparing a massive warehouse to a network of convenient neighborhood hubs. So what's required to build a data center? Well, first of all, a data center is not just an empty building with servers that gets retrofitted. It requires massive electrical capacity, usually 3-phase power, redundant backup generators, and robust cooling systems. High-speed fiber optic connectivity is critical, typically 10 gigabytes or higher, with full redundancy. The building itself must be physically secure, with controlled access, fire suppression, and sometimes reinforced walls. On top of that, you need regulatory compliance for handling sensitive data. So think of it as a fortress for technology, electricity, internet, security, and cooling all come together. So how is equipment deployed into a data center? Well, inside a data center, everything revolves around servers and racks and pods. Equipment is delivered, it's installed in the racks, it's wired into the power, into the network infrastructure, and it's cooled with high-powered precision air conditioning units, HVAC systems. And redundancy is key, meaning multiple power feeds, multiple network providers, multiple cooling systems, all kinds of backup systems in place. That way, if one component fails, then the others pick it up instantly. And why that's important for investors is this means stability and reliability. Why it's important for tenants, it means their applications never go down. So deployment is a highly technical process, but the end goal here is to keep the data flowing without interruption. So who are the typical tenants of a data center? Well, the tenants of data centers are companies that you interact with every day. Cloud service providers, streaming platforms, financial institutions, healthcare systems, government agencies, rental companies, video streaming companies. These companies are around you all day long, every day. And increasingly, AI companies and autonomous automobile companies have these huge needs for data storage. They become major tenants. And so essentially, any organization that needs to store, process, this makes the tenant base incredibly diverse and resilient. And this is a big reason why investors are flocking to data center investments. So the tenants that occupy these data centers, how long are their leases? Well, unlike apartments or retail shops where a lease is a year or two, data center tenants often sign long-term leases, 5, 7, 10 years or longer. Why? Because moving servers is extremely expensive and disruptive. Once a tenant is in, they tend to stay. This creates a predictable, stable cash flow for investors. Leases are often structured to build in escalations, meaning rent grows over the course of time. And so for investors, this is one of the most attractive aspects of investing in data centers: sticky tenants and long-term income. So how does an investor get involved in a data center investment? Well, traditionally, data centers were only investments for giant institutions. But now, through funds like ours, investors can participate in this high-growth sector. Investors typically benefit from high cash flow, long-term appreciation, and the significant tax advantages that go along with investing in data centers. Projected returns often are outpacing projected returns for real estate investments. And since the demand is growing exponentially, investors are positioning themselves for what is being called the real estate of the future. So it's not just about owning buildings, it's about owning the infrastructure that is contained within those buildings and the entire digital economy.